The Olmecs, faces of stone, shadows of history in the jungles of Mesoamerica. Long before the Aztecs or Maya, the Olmecs carved colossal heads from stone. Each head, some weighing over 40 tons, depicted unique features, perhaps portraits of rulers or warriors. But beyond these stone faces, much of the Olmec story is lost. They thrived between 1500 and 400 BC, trading across vast regions, influencing future civilizations with their art, religion, and knowledge. They may have been the mother culture of Mesoamerica, passing down traditions of pyramids, ball games, and sacred rituals. Yet no one knows what the Olmecs called themselves. The name Olmec comes from the Aztec word for rubber people. Long after they had disappeared, their cities crumbled, their language vanished, and their gods were absorbed by later cultures. The stone heads stare at us across millennia, silent witnesses to a people whose identity remains cloaked in mystery. The Hittites, empire lost and found for centuries. The Bible mentioned a people called the Hittites, but scholars dismissed them as myth. Then, in the late 19th century, archaeologists uncovered an entire forgotten empire in the ruins of Hattusa. In modern-day Turkey, the Hittites had once ruled much of Anatolia and fought toe-to-toe with mighty Egypt. In fact, the world's first known peace treaty between Pharaoh Ramses II and the Hittite king Hattusili III was signed around 1259 BC. And yet, by 1200 BC, their empire collapsed during the mysterious Late Bronze Age collapse. Their cities burned, their language nearly vanished, and they slipped out of memory for 3,000 years. Only when archaeologists deciphered their cuneiform tablets did the Hittites return to history. Their story reminds us how entire nations can vanish, not because they were insignificant, but because time simply forgets. The Nabateans, masters of stone and sand. Most people know Petra, the rose-red city, half as old as time, from photographs of its stunning rock-cut temples. But the people who built it, the Nabateans, are far less known. Between the 4th century BC and the 1st century CE, the Nabateans controlled desert trade routes, growing wealthy from spices, incense, and silk. Their capital, Petra, was carved directly into sandstone cliffs, blending natural beauty with human ingenuity. And yet, despite their skill in trade, architecture, and water engineering, little is known about them. They left almost no written history. By the time Rome annexed their territory in 106 CE, the Nabateans had begun to fade into obscurity. Petra remained hidden for centuries, forgotten by the outside world, until a Swiss explorer rediscovered it in 1812. Today it is a wonder of the world, but the people who built it remain enigmatic shadows. The Minoans, a civilization swallowed by the Shah on the island of Crete, centuries before classical Greece. The Minoans created a dazzling civilization. Their palaces, especially Knossos, were labyrinthine complexes decorated with colorful frescoes of dolphins, dancers, and bull-lepers. The Minoans thrived on trade, sailing across the Mediterranean. Their culture inspired myths, including the legend of the Minotaur. But by 1200 BC, they were gone. Why? Some believe a massive volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Faro, modern Santorini, devastated them with tsunamis and ash clouds. Others think invasions finished what nature began. The Minoans left behind scripts known as Linear and Linear B. Linear B was later deciphered as an early form of Greek, but Linear remains undeciphered to this day, locking away the secrets of their true language and identity. A whole civilization, as advanced as any of its time, swallowed by sea and silence. The Minoans, a civilization swallowed by the Shah on the island of Crete, centuries before classical Greece. The Minoans created a dazzling civilization. Their palaces, especially Knossos, were labyrinthine complexes decorated with colorful frescoes of dolphins, dancers, and bull-lepers. The Minoans thrived on trade, sailing across the Mediterranean. Their culture inspired myths, including the legend of the Minotaur. But by 1200 BC, they were gone. Why? Some believe a massive volcanic eruption on the nearby island of Faro, modern Santorini, devastated them with tsunamis and ash clouds. Others think invasions finished what nature began. The Minoans left behind scripts known as Linear and Linear B. Linear B was later deciphered as an early form of Greek, but Linear remains undeciphered to this day, locking away the secrets of their true language and identity. a whole civilization, as advanced as any of its time, swallowed by sea and silence. Threads of mystery in this valley. The Olmecs, the Hittites, the Nabateans, the Minoans, 5 civilizations, each once powerful, each now shrouded in questions. Their ruins tell us they were real. Their artifacts prove they were advanced, yet their voices are gone. What unites them is not just their disappearance, but the eerie feeling they give us that human greatness can rise, thrive, and then vanish, almost without a trace. In part 2, we will journey further to other civilizations that slipped into mystery. From the builders of South America's forgotten cities to the lost cultures of Africa and Asia. Their ruins still stand, but their names are whispers in the wind. The kingdom of Axum, giants of stone in African northern Ethiopia, hidden among rugged mountains, once thrived. The kingdom of Axum, from around 100 CE to 700 CE. Axum was one of the great powers of the ancient world, trading with Rome, India, and even China. Its merchants exchanged ivory, gold, and exotic goods for silk and spices. But Axum's most striking legacy lies in its towering stone monuments. Massive obelisks, some over 100 feet tall, were carved from single blocks of granite. These stelae, decorated with intricate designs, stood as symbols of power and spirituality. The kingdom also had its own written script, Ge'ez, which survives today in the Ethiopian church. They even minted coins, one of the few African states to do so in antiquity. And yet, after centuries of prosperity, Axum declined. Scholars debate why: climate change, over-farming, shifting trade routes, or the rise of Islam cutting off their access to Red Sea ports. Whatever the cause, this mighty kingdom faded into obscurity, its towering obelisks left as silent guardians of a forgotten empire. The kingdom of Kush, the Black Pharaohs. Even more ancient than Axum was Kush, a kingdom that thrived along the Nile south of Egypt for centuries. Kush was both rival and partner to the Egyptian pharaohs. At one point, Kushite kings conquered Egypt itself, ruling as the 25th dynasty, often called the era of the Black Pharaohs. They built pyramids smaller and steeper than those of Egypt at the site of Meroe. Hundreds of these pyramids still stand in the Sudanese desert, their sharp silhouettes rising against the golden sand. But though they ruled as pharaohs, the Kushites developed their own culture, religion, and writing system known as Meroitic. To this day, the Meroitic script remains undeciphered. We don't know what their texts say: laws, prayers, poetry, or history. By the 4th century CE, Kush collapsed, perhaps under pressure from neighboring tribes or internal decline. What remains is a kingdom that once rivaled Egypt, but whose voice is still locked in silence. The Sangsingdui civilization, Faces of Bronze, mystery of Shanane 1929, a farmer in Sichuan, China. Unearthed fragments of jade and bronze that led to one of the greatest archaeological surprises of the 20th century. Excavations revealed a lost Bronze Age culture now called Sangsingdui, dating back as far as 1200 BC. The artifacts were unlike anything seen in traditional Chinese history: enormous bronze masks with exaggerated eyes, strange geometric patterns, and intricate ritual objects. Some masks were taller than a human. Others had gold foil decorations, suggesting a culture rich in symbolism and spiritual life. Yet, here lies the enigma: Sangsingdui was not recorded in Chinese historical texts. The artifacts suggest an advanced, independent civilization, but its people, language, and beliefs remain unknown. Around 1000 BC, Sangsingdui vanished. Some theorize an earthquake diverted rivers, forcing migration. Others believe conquest ended their era. Whatever the cause, their culture disappeared, leaving behind only haunting bronze masks, faces of a civilization forgotten by time. The Nok civilization, sculptors of African central Nigeria, long before the great empires of Mali or Songhai. The Nok civilization thrived between 1500 BC and 500 CE. They were among the earliest known sub-Saharan societies to smelt iron, giving them tools and weapons that changed the course of African history. But what makes Nok most remarkable are their terracotta sculptures, crafted with astonishing detail. These figures depict humans with elaborate hairstyles, jewelry, and expressive faces. Some seem almost modern in their artistry, Who were these people? How did they organize their society? What did they believe? No written records survive. The Nok left behind only fragments of clay and traces of villages. By 500 CE, the civilization had vanished, swallowed by history. The sculptures remain, fragile yet eternal, staring back at us with faces from a world we cannot fully understand. Tiwanaku, city of the god Shai in the Andes of Bolivia, near Lake Titicaca, lie the ruins of Tiwanaku, an ancient city once believed to be the center of a powerful civilization. Flourishing between 500 and 1000 CE, Tiwanaku influenced the later Inca Empire with its monumental stonework, agriculture, and religious traditions. The most iconic structure is the Gateway of the Sun, a massive stone arch carved with intricate symbols and figures. Its purpose remains mysterious. Was it a calendar, a portal in myth, or religious monument? Archaeologists know that Tiwanaku had advanced irrigation systems, terraced farming, and a vast network of trade. Yet, around 1000 CE, the civilization collapsed, likely due to prolonged drought. The city was abandoned, its gods left to watch over silent ruins. Even today, Tiwanaku inspires awe and speculation. Some fringe theories claim extraterrestrial influence due to the precision of its stonework, while mainstream archaeology rejects such claims. One truth remains: Tiwanaku was a city of wonders, built by a people whose story we only partly know. The Garamontes, desert engineers in the heart of the Sahara Desert, where survival seems impossible. The Garamontes built a thriving kingdom around 500 BC to 500 CE, living in what is now Libya. They constructed underground irrigation tunnels called fogaras, channeling water from deep aquifers to support agriculture in the harsh desert. Roman historians once dismissed them as nomadic raiders. But archaeology revealed a sophisticated urban society with fortified cities, writing, and long-distance trade routes across the Sahara. By the 7th century CE, their water sources dwindled, and the Garamontes declined, leaving their cities to be buried by the sands. Their story reminds us that even the desert once held kingdoms of ingenuity and resilience. Atlantis, the eternal mystery. No legend of a lost civilization is more famous than Atlantis. The tale originates with the Greek philosopher Plato, who in 360 BCE described a mighty island empire that existed 9,000 years before his time. According to him, Atlantis was a wealthy and powerful kingdom that eventually grew corrupt. As punishment, the gods sank it into the ocean in a single day and night of disaster. For centuries, Atlantis has fascinated dreamers, explorers, and scholars. Some believed it was a metaphor for the dangers of pride and greed. Others searched for its physical location in the Mediterranean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Caribbean, even Antarctica. No definitive proof has ever been found, but the story persists. Some speculate that Plato's tale may have been inspired by the eruption of Thera Santorini around 1600 BC, which destroyed the Minoan civilization. If so, Atlantis may not have been a myth at all, but a distorted memory of a real catastrophe. Lemuria, a continent lost beneath the waves in the 19th century. Scientists puzzled over why similar fossils appeared in both India and Madagascar before plate tectonics was understood. One theory suggested a now vanished continent once connected them. Writers named this hypothetical land Lemuria. Though the scientific need for Lemuria vanished once continental drift was accepted, the myth had already taken root. Theosophists and mystics of the 19th and 20th centuries transformed Lemuria into a supposed home of ancient wisdom. Some claimed the Lemurians were spiritually advanced beings who left hidden knowledge for humanity. Archaeology has never confirmed Lemuria, but the myth continues to inspire books, films, and esoteric traditions. It is an example of how science can accidentally spark myth when faced with the unknown. El Dorado, the Golden Kingdom. Unlike Atlantis or Lemuria, the myth of El Dorado grew from real encounters between Europeans and the indigenous peoples of South America. Spanish conquistadors in the 16th century heard tales of a king who covered himself in gold dust and bathed in Lake Guatavita in modern Colombia. Over time, this story expanded into visions of an entire city or even an empire made of gold. Driven by greed, explorers searched relentlessly. Some perished in the Amazon, jungles, others drowned in rivers, still others were betrayed by their own men. They never found El Dorado. Yet archaeology suggests the myth may have been rooted in the Muisca culture, which performed rituals involving gold and sacred lakes. The real truth was not an empire of treasure, but a sophisticated society with deep spiritual traditions. Still, the dream of a golden city captured the imagination of generations. The land of Punt, Egypt's mysterious partner. Ancient Egyptian texts mention a place called Punt, a rich land that provided incense, ebony, and exotic animals. Pharaohs sent expeditions there for centuries, and one famous relief from Queen Hatshepsut's temple even depicts a successful voyage, but the exact location of Punt remains uncertain. Some scholars believe it was in modern Somalia, others suggest Eritrea, Sudan, or even Yemen. Despite trade records and artistic depictions, archaeologists have yet to identify Punt with certainty. The mystery of Punt reminds us that even in one of the world's most documented civilizations, entire societies could vanish from the historical map. The Vinland sagas, a lost colony in North America long before Columbus. Norse sagas spoke of a land called Vinland, a place across the sea rich with grapes and fertile soil. For centuries, historians debated whether these tales were true. Then, in the 1960s, archaeologists uncovered Norse ruins at Land's Ox Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada. This confirmed that Vikings reached North America around 1000 CE. But was this Vinland? Were there other settlements that vanished without trace? The Vinland stories blur the line between legend and history, showing how oral traditions can preserve kernels of truth for centuries. The myth becomes the memory what unites these legends: Atlantis, Lemuria, El Dorado, Punt, Vinland, Shamhala is that each sits at the edge of history and imagination. Some, like Vinland, turn out to have a basis in fact. Others, like El Dorado, are exaggerations of real practices, and some may forever remain in the realm of myth. But perhaps that is the lesson: myths preserve humanity's deepest hopes and fears. They warn against pride. As with Atlantis, they inspire quests for wealth and discovery. As with El Dorado, they offer visions of paradise. As with Shamhala, forgotten civilizations, whether real or legendary, remind us that human history is larger than we can fully grasp. For every city we excavate, every script we decipher, there may be another world, lost beyond recovery. And for every myth, there may be a kernel of truth waiting, buried in time. Conclusion: the fragility of memory. From the Indus Valley to Sangsingdui, from Tiwanaku to Atlantis. The story of forgotten civilizations is a story of impermanence. Entire cultures, rich, advanced, creative, can vanish, leaving only fragments or myths behind. Yet even in disappearance, they continue to shape us. Their ruins inspire awe. Their myths ignite imagination. Their mysteries remind us that history is never complete. Perhaps the greatest enigma is this: one day, our own civilization may be remembered only in fragments, its stories half told, its monuments misunderstood. And future generations may wonder who we were, just as we now wonder about them.